thanks everyone for coming tonight. I think we're now entering into a new phase, if you like, of austerity, and the government and Cameron and the government have had to change their rhetoric around when they talk about austerity. And I think it's no coincidence that these attacks on the trade unions and the right to protest from the mainstream politicians and the media have come at this time. At the end of last year, David Cameron announced, speaking, by the way, from a gold podium at the Guildhall in the city, that austerity needs to be permanent. Whether it's just, regardless of the deficit, austerity needs to be permanent. Last month, George Osborne announced a further £25 billion in cuts and said that this would be the year of hard truths. At the same time, we're told the economy has turned a corner and it's recovering quicker than anybody could have imagined. Yet living standards have continuously fallen since 2010. A recent report just about a week ago from the Office for National Statistics found that we're now going through the longest consistent fall in real wages since records began. And that's just one example of what's happening in terms of the falling living standards. But what this does, being told that you deserve austerity, but it's getting better for us at the top, is expose in plain sight what the government's real agenda is here, and that is to fundamentally restructure society to benefit the rich. And it's no wonder that at the same time they're saying this, that there comes an attempt to stop resistance. And this is coming from all the three main parties. We should remember this. It was Miliband who launched attacks on Unite over Falkirk, which gave the green light to attempt to smash the union at Grangemouth. And it's an absolute disgrace, by the way, that Tristram Hunt thinks that he can cross a picket line at Queen Mary's yesterday. And not only that, but he was giving a lecture on Marx and Engels. But the tube strikes last week also came under massive attacks from the Tories. Cameron's attempting to limit the right of the transport unions to strike, to take strike action, and Boris continuously attacks the tube drivers in the media. But I think this has backfired. The tube strikes last week showed that an organised group of workers has the power to bring London to a standstill, and this was met with mass public support. We need to say that any attack on the trade unions is an attack on the whole movement and on us all, and that any attack on the right to protest is an attack on working people. And that makes it everyone's business. Whether in a trade union or not, we need to defend our fundamental right to be in a trade union and to take strike action. That means we need to get on the offensive. We need to create the biggest possible movement against austerity, because that's what this is really about. They know that if we get mobilised, if we get organised and create a mass movement, we have the power to stop austerity in its tracks. And it's not just the trade unions that are under attack here. The recent student protests have been smashed by the police, attempts have been made to ban protesting on campuses, and students have been suspended for taking part in demonstrations. And now Boris wants to introduce, to bring in water cannons to stop us from protesting. And if you need proof of the motivation behind this, you only need to look at what the Association of Police Officers said, of Chief Police Officers, said. They said the need to control continued protests from ongoing and potential future austerity measures justifies the introduction of water cannon in Britain for the first time. Now, what we need to do in the coming weeks and months is to create the kind of movement that this government is clearly scared of. We need to bring together the trade unions, the students, the community campaigns and the thousands of individuals and act together against austerity. That's what the People's Assembly is about, and in the coming weeks we'll be organising a series of events and actions that can start this process of building a mass movement. And that's got to start on Budget Day. On the 19th of March, when Osborne will be announcing his next load of cuts and privatisation, the People's Assembly has called a National Day of Action and protest. And in London we'll be holding a march and a protest to Downing Street. We'll be assembling at Mallet Street at the heart of the student movement in London and marching to Downing Street in the evening, and direct action and protest will be taking place up and down the country. We need to get involved in our communities and help build support for the NUT strike on the 26th of March. And finally, on the 21st of June, the People's Assembly will be organising a national demonstration in London where we hope to get many tens of thousands of people out on the streets in opposition to austerity. I hope that everyone here will get involved with your local People's Assembly group, support the strikes and help create a movement that can't be ignored. Solidarity. Thank you, comrades.